I was reading today's a piece about that was published in Black Agenda report that was lame because they were mixing half truths with lies and with exaggeration and twisting reality. I don't remember.
I wasn't gonna name names, but I was frankly
I,
referencing
yeah,
the article. Yeah.
but that
Black
reminds me
Agenda
of what
report.
you say about the mixing anti-communism, but out of context and trying to make this particular, complicated situation with on the Essequibo territory, something related to ideological stance or something like that. Of course, there is a confrontation between imperialism and anti-imperialism. Uh, and Venezuela represents anti-imperialism. And of course, Guyana and the UK represent are the hardcore imperialist, countries. And Guyana plays for them. I mean, plays their tune, and that's sad because in history, Guyana has had at least some progressive government that that have represented better the interests of the Guyanese people, but that's not the situation right now. And I really don't know. I'm not an expert in Guyanese politics, but from what I hear and what I try to read from there, it looks like everyone is united against the bad Venezuelans there, which is weird because you might expect that at least some anti-imperialist people there will recognize that, that there's something wrong, that there's something smelly, in what is happening. And you have to take also into consideration that Guyana is not only having a territorial affair with Venezuela, I mean, a territorial dispute with Venezuela, they also have a territorial dispute with Suriname. So Guyana have these, territorial issues, and not only Venezuela. I mean, and actually not Venezuela. I mean, we are not the bad. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that we are not the aggressors. In this current situation, Guyana is the one uh, that is that can be
Guyana,
considered
well,
the
yeah,
aggressor.
like it's like the puppet. It's like the puppet,
Of course,
the
yes,
puppet touching an individual. It's not
yes,
really the puppet that's hit. The inanimate puppet is not the one hitting you. It's the
that's
person
true.
controlling the puppet, right?
Yes, yes. But anyway, you when you see the conflict in Ukraine, you also think about Zelensky. So it's complicated because you have one that plays the tune of the empire, and that is what happening in Guyana. And Guyana also was part of the Lima group that tried to isolate Venezuela a few years for several years.
Well,
Essentially, that
that
group
would add to security concerns, huh?
yes, that group was created by Canada under U.S. directions, of course, but Guyana was part of it, and they attacked diplomatically Venezuela, and they tried to isolate Venezuela, and they played the tune of the U.S. and Canada, and that didn't end up well. I mean, Venezuela resisted that aggression as we has been resisting all the terrible aggressions from the U.S. in Europe in recent years. And that somehow says something about the strength of Chavismo that has been heavily affected by the crisis created by all these attacks, but that is still strong. And the results of the referendum show that strength, if you ask me. I mean, with a participation, with a turnout of almost, I believe that 50% of the electoral roll voted in the elections, in the referendum, I mean. And out of that 50%, if you average the approval of the questions, I believe that 96 or 97% of the people voted for the options um, promoted by the Venezuelan government. And that's a victory. That cannot be understand different as a victory of Chavismo, but you cannot also attach that victory only to Chavismo because I'm sure that there were not many, not the majority, but there were some anti-Chavistas that voted in that referendum because they know the repercussions of not doing something about what is happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah. By the way, I did find the list of referendum questions, so I'll link that
That's fine.
in the video
I
description.
I don't remember the fourth one. That's the one that I.
Fourth one, do you agree to oppose through all legal means Guyana's attempts to unilaterally assert control of the ocean pending delimitation illegally in violation of
Exactly.
the international law,
That's
which would
that's
connect to your point about the oil deposits, right?
the oil concessions that they have been granting on waters that, if delimited, will be Venezuelan waters, and that are not part of the Essequibo dispute. You know what I mean? They are out of the discussion. They are out of the Essequibo territorial claim of Venezuela. But of course, they are affected somehow because, I mean, we haven't been able to negotiate those things because we haven't been able to even sit with the Guyanese people to try to solve the whole issue.